Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussmann was acquitted of lying to the FBI. What might have influenced this outcome, and what's next for the Durham probe? NTD's Iris Tao brings us more.
A jury in Washington has found Michael Sussmann, a former lawyer for the Clinton campaign, not guilty. Here's Sussmann speaking outside the courthouse after the Tuesday verdict.
Despite being falsely accused, I'm relieved that justice ultimately prevailed in my case.
Special counsel John Durham had accused Sussmann of hiding his Clinton campaign ties when he brought allegations to the FBI in 2016 about Donald Trump and Russia. Durham did not talk to reporters while leaving the courthouse, but said in a statement that his team was disappointed in the outcome. Former Congressman Devin Nunes, who's now the CEO of Trump Media, tells NTD that he's not surprised by what the jury decided.
Because we've seen just how rotten Washington, D.C. has become. You have a situation there where you have a jury that from a jury pool that less than 5% voted for Trump, and you had a defense who very successfully painted this as a very political, anti-Trump issue, calling it a conspiracy theory.
The jury reportedly included several Clinton donors who were kept as jurors despite objections by prosecutors. Mark Ruskin, a former FBI agent and federal prosecutor, says he expected the jury to take longer to review the evidence.
The verdict was reached so quickly is if they had preconceptions as to what the outcome should be.
Former President Trump responded to the verdict on Truth Social, saying our legal system is corrupt, our judges and justices are highly partisan, compromised, or just plain scared. But Nunes says the case has larger ramifications by informing the public.
We learned that Clinton approved of this operation. We learned that for sure they were spying on Trump. We learned the FBI knew about it.
Durham still has another case pending against Igor Danchenko, a Russian national linked to the discredited Steele dossier.
It looks like Durham presented so much evidence, overwhelming evidence, in this Sussmann trial that I'd be shocked if Durham doesn't bring several more indictments or possibly even a conspiracy indictment.
Danchenko faces trial in October in Virginia, where experts say a different jury could lead to a different outcome. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Iris Tao, NTD News.
The House Judiciary Committee is moving to vote on a gun control bill. They've planned an emergency session for Thursday. The Democratic-led committee is introducing what they've named the Protect Our Kids Act, which covers various measures aimed at gun control. Those include raising the minimum age for buying semi-automatic rifles from 18 to 21 and banning further sale or possession of high-capacity ammunition magazines. The package is not likely to pass the Senate in full, but some Senate Republicans may consider individual measures within the act. The acquittal of Michael Sussmann is raising questions about the future of the John Durham probe. Nationally syndicated television and radio talk show host of the Joe Pag Show, Joe Pagliarulo, is here with us to discuss. Joe Pagliarulo, host of the Joe Pag Show, thank you so much for joining us.
Steve, glad to be here. Thanks.
Joe, Michael Sussmann was acquitted today on charges that he lied to the FBI. How big of a setback do you think this is to the John Durham probe?
Well, I think that it's good that Durham is out there trying to do something. I wasn't very surprised that he was found not guilty, although he was charged with the same thing that General Flynn was charged with, and they try to get Jerome Corsi on and all these other guys. So I'm not really sure why this guy gets to walk. That's usually the charge that the FBI goes with if you can't really tie the earlier or the bigger charges to them. Well, you lied to the FBI, we're going to get you. It's almost like Al Capone, killed a bunch of people, but they got him on tax evasion. I'm surprised that he's walking. But then when you look at the jury, and it's been widely reported that there are 3 Hillary Clinton donors on that jury, I guess you really can't be surprised, right? I mean, how is it that these people got to sit there knowing that they actually gave money to the woman that this guy allegedly was helping lie about Russia collusion?
Joe, that's a very interesting point. I mean, concerns have been raised over the jury as well as the judge, also potentially having ties to, the Sussmann family or one of the jurors. I can't keep track. How hard do you think it is to find an impartial jury in Washington, D.C., which voted 92% for the Democratic candidate Joe Biden in the last election?
I think that you should have had a change of venue big time. But I think a bigger question might be, Steve, how is it that the Clinton clan, the Clinton machine, has such a different Department of Justice and a different set of rules than you and I have to fly by? Had you and I done what this guy Sussmann did, we'd be behind bars. period. That's just the way it is. But for some reason, if it's Hillary or Bill Clinton or anybody named Clinton, they get away with it every single time. We know beyond the shadow of a doubt, according to Durham, that Hillary Clinton paid for this Russia collusion technical aspect that tried to tie Trump to some Russian bank that he never had any business with. We know that they did this. Yet for some reason, they're walking around, and I get the feeling that Hillary Clinton's going to run for president again. It's very, very strange that you've got a two-tier level of justice in this country, and this one family, these two people keep getting away with it. It's very, to me, it shows us that there are probably more than two tiers. Again, if you and I did it, anybody watching did it, we'd be in big trouble.
Joe, just switching gears a little bit here, the Second Amendment debate is in full force right now. What are your thoughts in the wake of the two mass shootings that took place this month in Buffalo and Uvalde? Is it time to address gun laws?
No. I think that it's time to address mental health. It's time to address why we closed down the asylums in this country a long time ago. I think it's time that we started paying attention to the social media of these idiots that go out and do these horrible, heinous things. You had the guy at Parkland, Florida 4 years ago who actually posted on his social media for all the public to see, I hope to be a mass school shooter one day. I want to go shoot up the school. He had 36 contacts with police agencies. They did nothing. In fact, they kept on expunging his record because it makes schools look better if you expunge the record if they don't do more than 4 things every 9 weeks or something. When it comes to what happened in Buffalo, this guy should have been known. It sounds like he may have been, pardon me, he may have been in contact with a former FBI agent, and the FBI agent didn't say anything either. This guy in Uvalde, why wasn't there a school resource officer there? Why aren't there good guys with guns protecting our kids? You know, when I look at it, Steve, the Congress, the president, governors, people who allegedly are those who are voted in by us and work for us are all protected by good guys with guns. Why can't our kids get the same exact thing? Changing a gun law doesn't stop a bad guy from doing a bad thing. I've got a news flash. It's against the law to shoot your grandmother in the face. It's against the law to kill 19 kids. So if you had a different gun law, how is that going to stop this guy? And I guess the argument is, well, he couldn't have gotten the gun to begin with. Well, check out Chicago. Most of those murders every weekend aren't done with legally purchased guns. So changing gun laws doesn't help anything. Take down the gun-free zone signs in front of schools. Put up signs saying the staff is well-trained and will kill you if you want to take on our students. And then the people don't do it anymore. And open up the asylums again. We've got a mental health crisis in this country, and we're avoiding it by saying it's about guns. It's not.
We hear things from Democrat leaders that the Second Amendment didn't mean you could buy a cannon, different types of comparisons that are, one might argue out of context. Yet our founders and framers might argue that's because the modern day stealth bomber wasn't around. What is the best way forward?
Well, when it comes to the Second Amendment, you can keep, you can have it, you can bear it, you can hold it, and it didn't specify what arms it were that you could use. Back then, if muskets were the biggest, baddest weapon on the planet, the people in the citizenry could have muskets, just like the government had muskets. The idea that Joe Biden keeps saying you can't buy cannons, you could. The fact that he says that you can't is kind of dumb. And Antonin Scalia, the now late Supreme Court justice, once did rule, okay, maybe the person can't have a tank, I get that, or a stealth bomber, but if you can keep it, that means have it, and you can hold it, bear it, then you can have it. In other words, he was actually okay with RPGs. If you could hold it as a citizen, you had the right to use that to make sure the government didn't get tyrannical again. So how do you go forward knowing that the Second Amendment says what it says? Well, here's my challenge to anybody who's a Democrat or an anti-gun person. If you want the Second Amendment to be altered, alter it. Have a constitutional convention and alter the Constitution. If you can get that done, then more power to you. The fact is they can't get it done, so they keep on regulating something that says can't be infringed. They keep on infringing it and acting like my guns that are not 20 feet away from me right now, Steve, are going to jump up and shoot somebody. They're not. You've got bad people doing bad things, whether it's guns or cars or ice picks, and knives kill more people every year in this country than rifles do. So the way forward is stop with all the yapping, stop with the laws and executive orders changing something that shouldn't be infringed, and change the Constitution if you think you have the wherewithal. They don't. They can't, but they keep playing games with it.
Joe Peggs, thank you for joining us.
All right, brother. Thank you.
United States Senator Tammy Duckworth met Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen in Taipei on Tuesday. She emphasized the close relations between the two countries.
I will close by saying that there is tremendous support for Taiwan within the legislative branch. Our president has shown his support for Taiwan, You've heard from our military, and as a member of the legislative branch, I will tell you it is a bipartisan agreement that the USA should stand with Taiwan. And
President Tsai mentioned the meeting in a tweet Tuesday, stating that she looks forward to closer Taiwan-U.S. cooperation in regional security, trade, and investment. Duckworth was one of the main sponsors of the Bipartisan Taiwan Partnership Act. It aims to develop a partnership between the U.S. National Guard and Taiwan and to strengthen Taiwan's self-defense capabilities. President Tsai announced Tuesday the cooperation between the National Guard and Taiwan's military amid a growing threat from Communist China. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson slammed Senator Duckworth's visit as a violation of the One China policy. China claims Taiwan as its own territory. The communist regime has breached Taiwan's air defense zone multiple times, flying 30 military aircraft near the island during Duckworth's visit. And Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is introducing a bill to bring attention to Iran's ties to the Chinese Communist Party. In a statement, the senator warned the Biden administration against re-entering a deal that legitimizes the Iranian regime over the regime's ties with the CCP. Blackburn's Iran-China Accountability Act aims to cut off U.S. tax dollars going toward the advancement of a nuclear agreement with Iran. This is until the regime terminates its ties with Communist China and terrorist groups like Hamas. Several GOP senators joined Blackburn on her bill. Republican Congressman Bob Good is introducing a similar bill in the House of Representatives. President Biden and New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern today discussed the need to step up engagement with Pacific Island nations, including through in-person exchanges with their leaders. Greeting Ardern in the Oval Office, Biden said Washington had no desire to dictate to the region, but to partner with them.
A lot to do, and I want to emphasize the last point you made, working together. We are not coming to dictate or lay down the law. We have more work to do in those Pacific Islands as well.
Biden and Ardern met at the White House amid a concerted push by China to increase its influence in the Pacific Island region. This has raised concerns in both New Zealand and the United States, among other U.S. allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific. Ardern spoke to the media on the White House driveway Tuesday after meeting with Biden.
They've put forward the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework as an opportunity, and we will use that opportunity, but we are looking for it to be meaningful.
The Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, a U.S.-led initiative, excludes Communist China.